Hello, morning to
Oh,
the
morning
DK64
to
runners and to all DK64 enthusiasts. Glad you guys can hear me. Let's make sure that you guys can hear his application. Looks like toyomana is about to start his Donkey Kong 64 no levels early speedrun. He do got the DK chair, or the gaming chair.
There we
Just
go.
setup of what's about to start here. You'll notice he's at the intro story currently. So he's going to enter the intro story and start the timer at about 1.9 to 2.1 seconds. You're going to see the first blue frame of the intro story flash on the screen as Toyo is going to kick out of the intro story, triggering the intro story glitch.
I guess you can hear me.
Game so broken the glitches don't start when the gameplay
I
does.
can.
So here we go. He kicks out right there on the first blue frame, and he's going to enter the game file. Now, the first thing you might notice is that there's no music in the background. Hmm. So what's really going on right now is the intro story glitch uh, allows for the intro story to be playing in the background while you are still in the game file. So Toyo has just gone to Cranky's lab, and he's going to line up jumping into the first training barrel here at around 55 seconds, which is conveniently where the first fade out happens in the intro story. Now, it's very important to get those DK transitions that you saw there, where you see DK, um, like the letters D and K, like spinning into the screen, kind of like that, at particular points, and lining them up where there are fade outs in the intro story. So the next one's at 124.9, and he gets the overlap right there. If he did not properly overlap the cutscene transition there, then unfortunately we would have seen the intro story, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So Toyo is now finishing up the third training barrel. So here he's going counterclockwise to throw the barrels. Fun fact, you can just hold B during this training barrel and just walk up to the barrels and he'll pick up and throw them immediately. He's quitting right out of the game and is going to go back to the main menu and is going to trigger what seems to be is going to start some seemingly random menu movements. It's going to be very important that no cutscenes play here. So he's going to hold A and he's going to inspect his file. And interestingly enough, he's going to go into the castle boss. Or maybe he's not. He's going to go to multiplayer. And he's just trying to line up particular fade outs in the intro story. So the next fade out being at around 259 on VC. So he gets that overlap there. Basically, this is skipping all of these boss cutscenes and just writing it onto the file that he inspected at the beginning. So the Galleon boss, now there's a fade out in the intro story around 3 minutes and 23-ish seconds. Yep, there we go. And the last one that he's going to watch is the Fungi boss. In this particular case, he's just gonna watch the whole thing. Now, it's very important to note that the intro story is 4 minutes and 26 seconds long, um, on N64. On VC, it is about 4 minutes 24 seconds.
That would be accurate.
The way he's going to enter the game is he's actually going to trigger the final fade out using a cutscene. What cutscene, you might ask? Well, hopefully he gets a good event. He has about a 7 out of 10 chance of getting a good event on the screen just waiting. Let's hope. The bad events would be a
Now that
leg
you've
shake,
said that out
night
loud, he's
cycle, or
guaranteed to get a
wave.
leg shake.
He gets a night cycle, unfortunately, that loses about 10 to 12 seconds. Hot memes only.
Can anyone hear me? Zoru can't.
Still playing the waiting game. Let's see. Okay, looks like he
Okay.
got a good
The stream can
cutscene.
hear me, but Zoru can't.
There we go.
Okay, this is great. Uh, so yeah, now we're just gonna clean up the rest of the training barrels, I guess. And the reason you do orange barrel last, as opposed to any of the other training barrels, is because when you go out of the orange barrel, it actually refills your orange count to 20. And those are going to be used in your meta in the run. If you were to do that during the intro story glitch section, it would actually set your orange count to 0. So that's why we choose that one to be the last one. Right. So into the actual game finally. So because this is no levels early, we actually have to open all of the level lobbies and go through them in order. That's basically what it means. You in no levels early, you cannot enter a level lobby before opening it with the appropriate key, nor enter a level without the requisite golden banana counts. So you're gonna be seeing Toyo go into this big dinosaur guy for almost every level. So cutscenes. So in other
Alright, Zach, it
categories,
looks like I'm going to be able to hear you through the SpeedGaming stream,
oh pug.
but in the call I can't hear you.
All right, so that's gonna be interesting. Is it even a Twitch stream without audio issues? So yeah, this is our first encounter with the so-called B-Locker. This guy, you can see the number on his teeth. That tells you how many golden bananas Toyo needs to enter the level. So there's only one for the first one. It's going to be 5 for Angry Aztec, 15 for Frantic Factory, 13 for Gloomy Galleon, I believe 50 for Fungi Forest, 65 for Crystal Caves, and 80 for Creepy Castle, and then finally 100 for Hideout Helm. So you're going to be collecting 100 golden bananas total in the run. Yeah, for whatever reason, stream can hear both of us just fine, but Zoru can't hear me. And the weird part is I can hear him just fine. So yeah, that was That was called a moon kick, what he was doing off the trees there. If you do an aerial attack and then cancel the aerial attack into a kick as DK, which is only possible off of either slopes or ledges, because you normally can't do an aerial attack that close to ground. But if you cancel that aerial attack, we tend to say that the game adds the aerial attack's height to the kick, meaning that the kick just keeps on going upward instead of instantly dropping you down as it normally does. And yeah, we didn't touch on this earlier. This so while you're in water in this game, walls don't exist pretty much.
Yes,
Yeah,
purple
you can
rupees
do it
can
on
deal
low
with
ceilings
low
and all that.
ceilings as well.
Yes, that is true. Yeah, that what the way Toyo just got out of bounds is called a swim, like a swim through walls. Very very simple. Like it is actually as easy as it looks. You can just go up to a wall. To be fair, facing a certain direction, but
I tried
you can just
leaving and
go up to a
rejoining
wall,
and
go
it
into C up, and
still
go out
can't
of
hear
C
you,
up.
Zoffy.
Swim straight through. Wait, can you hear me? Nope. Still no. Yeah, in terms of no levels early as opposed to 101%, in 101%, we can actually go through the levels in whichever order is the most convenient, because you can enter levels early, and you have to collect all 201 golden bananas. So we're collecting half of the golden bananas. We're not going to get basically any colored bananas. Any colored bananas you see Toyo pick up is purely because they're in the way, not because he needs them for anything. And you're going to get all boss keys. Not going to get any battle crowns either. Completely useless. Did I miss something? No fairies. We are going to get the fairy camera.
I don't know if you said this already, but they're not going to need to get any moves because of the effects of the intro story glitch.
Yes.
Basically, they'll have all the upgrades necessary for the guns, as well as instruments. Although he'll need to get like instrument ammo basically by running into a headphone if necessary.
Yeah, I figured you talked about that since I wasn't here for intro story glitch, but that was basically the entire reason we went through that whole 5-minute sequence at the start of the run. Was to clear out the boss cutscenes because that's just convenient. But the main purpose is to get all the moves, so we don't have to collect any coins and go to crankies or candies or funkies or any of those family members. This also allows for skipping of some arguable backtracking in the run, where you can just do any mission, any golden banana at any time instead of having to go by the moves first or getting the moves from a later level in some cases.
So this is interesting. Toyomana actually opts to get the mountain golden banana there. It is definitely one of the faster golden bananas, though it's not usually in most of the like higher level, like no levels early runs. So it might be like a safety move for him in this particular case, and just
I'm not
on
actually
account
I'm not
of
actually
the
sure if
route
he
that he's
does
used
that in
to.
his. I'm not exactly sure if he does that in world record attempts. Because Toyo does actually do like a slightly outdated route in some spots. There has been a lot of route changes fairly recently in this run, specifically because of this trick right here. This is known as phase walking, and this, while it's the same
Yes.
mechanic as the swimming through walls, technically, it is way more difficult. Like, it requires a triple or quadruple frame perfect stick input, depending on which method you do. It basically you just literally walk through walls. So you can imagine that being incredibly useful, albeit very difficult. So it's only fairly recently, like basically this year, where that's become mainstreamed in runs. But yeah, due to that being implemented, there's been a lot of route changes, as you might imagine, from such a powerful trick being involved. But Toyo actually had, like, even though he was one of the first people to start implementing phase walks, he actually doesn't do a lot of those reroutes, um, either because of his own sort of convenience, or because there's a bit of a community sort of discontinuity with language barriers and whatever not.
So we're going to be seeing something interesting here. You might notice that DK is not taking any damage,
Yeah, this is also
and that
pretty
is on
strange too.
account of the fact that we are still in the intro story. Technically, we're basically in main menu mode, as you would expect, since we pretty much entered this file by fading out through the intro story. Um, for the remainder of this run, we're gonna be invincible and not take any damage.
Yeah, and other sort of inconvenient side effects of being in the main menu because you never entered a file is that he cannot pause the game. You can't just press start to pause the game or save, and the game doesn't save. And that's actually going to be relevant because the quote unquote old way we used to get out of the final level, Hideout Helm. Um, at the end, there is a closed room where the last key is, and and before phase walking, before the walking through walls thing, um, and similar tricks, you would basically have to collect. You basically have to make the game save before you could get that key, so you could just reset the console or the game in VC's case. You just reset the game and just have the game save the key. Um, because you can't just like exit because you can't normally just reset that. Um, so the way we get around that nowadays is you actually can clip out of bounds from that room and escape Helm um, through just going out of bounds and exiting. But that was a big hurdle in terms of routing this category specifically. The way you used to get out of the no saving state by collecting all 40 blueprints, turning them into Snide's headquarters, and entering one of the bonus stages that Snide unlocks after turning in all the blueprints. Because for whatever reason, entering one of those mini games takes you out of main menu mode and puts you back into story mode. So the game started saving from that point onward.
All right, so we have Toyomana entering Angry Aztec. This is going to be some funny starting movement. Immediately doing a phase walk on the left wall, first try. It was wonderful. He's going to do some very precarious movement here, just kind of walking on the side of the map right here,
That was very
getting
clean.
DK's first blueprint.
That movement
He's
is
going to
actually
do
deceptively
another
difficult
pretty
because the
funny
void
phase
wall
walk.
is really, really close to you there. Doesn't go for the second phase walk here, interestingly.
Yeah, it's
Oh, okay,
really
he goes for
scary
it
to void
here.
there.
Huh.
I love the Toyo does the phase walk on this wall, honestly.
Yeah. It is slightly slower because you have to, like, you can't move as a straight line, but the reason he phase walked there, by the way, like you could see there's a giant open door in front of him, but he still goes through the wall. The reason is when you exit that door, there is a cutscene that plays of the imprisoned llama um, asking for your help. So you skip that cutscene by just never walking through that door. But yeah, these are like the phase walks. You're going to be seeing them everywhere, and they're actually. It's going to look really easy just due to how many times he does it, but it is actually incredibly difficult to do consistently. All right, so this is that was known as a ledge
All
clip.
right, so we see our first ledge clip right here, basically accomplished by inching yourself forward towards a ledge and going into first person very quickly. Um, Diddy's able to just fall right in to one of the ledges and clip right through. It looks like all right.
Yeah,
Toyo
basically,
finds the free tiny golden banana here and is now going to free tiny the normal or organic, as we call it, way. However, he's not going to hit the switches in the order you would expect. And why is that?
because Japanese people can't spell English. Kappa. No,
Hmm.
the reason you don't go in order here is because there is a failsafe in the game where if you hit the K switch before the platforms are raised that you normally there's like a Diddy switch next to Tiny's cage that you have to hit to raise some platforms to get you to the switches. If you don't hit that and you hit the K switch, the game just doesn't register whatsoever. But the fail safe is that if you hit any of the other letters first, the game is just gonna assume, I guess, that there has been some sort of issue or that the platforms were raised and just not flagged, and then unlocks everything. So you hit
All right.
so you hit
So
a wrong
we're
letter
going to
first.
see Toyomana coming up to a trick called a spawn snag, where he's going to try to get a golden banana in a room that has not yet loaded. I believe that based on his camera from before, he may have loaded this room, so we'll see. So he's
Mm,
gonna walk out of the
it
wall
acts a bit
here,
differently on
and oh no,
PC.
he didn't load it. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
You see those
So
sparkles? He hits the banana for the claptrap mini game room, and he's going to just go ahead and leave here.
yeah. Some golden bananas are just stored out of bounds that you can just go ahead and grab whichever way. However, some golden bananas, like the one he just grabbed, are despawn the instant they're loaded. They're after one frame of loading the room, they become uncollectible. So the only way to get them without playing the requisite minigame is to grab them without loading the room. And yeah, that was one of the easier ones. I'm
Nice
not
face
sure if he's
clip.
gonna go for some of the harder ones later on, because in some cases it's really hard to keep the rooms unloaded, and some of the mini games are really long. So we obviously don't want to play them if we can avoid it.
Here's a fun little difference between N64 and Wii U VC routing.
Yeah.
So Wii U VC actually gets the um, Gong Tower Golden Banana that you see Toyomana getting here, as well as the DK Stealthy Snoop Golden Banana that's behind Funky's. Um, Whereas on N64, it's technically faster to do the DK 5 door temple and the Diddy 5 door temple, um, just based on lag clipping, which is not super prevalent, as you could imagine, on Wii U VC, given the extremely low amount of lag.
Yes. So I'm not sure if you touched on this earlier. It actually says wrongly on the stream that this is on N64. It is an N64 game, but it is being played on the Wii U Virtual Console, and the reason for that is to get rid of the lag. Normally on Nintendo 64, this game is incredibly
Yes.
laggy, like barely ever at full frame rate, and that obviously makes all cutscenes slower. It makes ambient movement a bit slower. It makes loading transitions slower. So in this run, which is like just over 2 hours long, VC saves somewhere between like 5 and 10 minutes, depending on your skill level, I guess. Because and the reason there's such a big range is because it's not a static amount because it's based on lag. Like if you were to
Hmm.
if your run is longer, the time save is obviously going to be bigger because there's going to be more instances of time save, and stop and say you're a quote unquote worse runner, you're going to be getting hit by fireballs and stuff more, and getting hit will generate lag and lose more time on N64 than on VC and all that. But yes, this game is like the game is optimal to
Yeah,
run
that's why,
on
like,
Virtual
Toyo
Console.
isn't too worried about, like, losing time to lag right here.
Yeah. If you watch Nintendo 64 runners play some of these boss fights, you would see them turn the camera away from the boss to reduce as much of the lag as possible in all of these sort of static sequences where you're just waiting for the boss to go through a certain attack pattern. On BC, you don't have to worry about that. So on the flip, like some things becomes way easier on VC aside from just being faster. On the flip side, you will also have sort of less time, like less of a frame window to do certain tricks like moon kicks or phase walks. So those can arguably become harder. It's it basically comes down to preference. The community generally doesn't cross compare, but if you only care about quote unquote true world record and all that jazz, then Wii U Virtual Console is the optimal version to play on.
Mhm.
So
That being
here,
said, there is definitely a very dedicated N64 community for pretty much every main category.
yes,
Um, I mean, myself included.
N64 is generally more popular among
But
runners.
anyways,
Also, there's also like an additional reason why people don't like running on Virtual Console, aside from the fact that it's on Wii U and everybody hates the Wii U. Um, like there is a built-in amount of input lag in the game on Virtual Console, um, which obviously makes controlling a little bit awkward.
is
And
spacewalk.
for whatever reason, controls are really janky on PC. Where like if you hold straight, like you can use an N64 controller through an adapter, but if you hold the stick straight up, the Kong will not go straight up. Like he will usually curve to one
All right.
direction or another.
So
So you have to constantly adjust
Toyo
your
is
directions.
doing a very important trick here. He's jumping out of bounds, taking out his gun, and he's going to go into the water. Now he's swimming with the gun in water. Monkey is swimming with the gun in water. Back in bounds, does a dive, and now Monkey is lying down. Monkey is tired. Why is Monkey tired? He's so tired, in fact, now he's just going to start walking through walls because there's no collision detection on his feet. And he's going to gain
He's
some
tired of the
height
game
on this
pretending there are
coconut
walls.
switch.
Yes. So this is known as skew walking. To break down a little bit of what happened there, you saw Toyo going out of bounds and then pulling out his gun and going back into the water. If you play this game, you might remember that normally if you pull out your gun and go into water, the game like the Kong puts his gun away. However, that is only true if you enter the water through the surface. If you enter water like underwater, the trigger to put your gun away doesn't actually go off, so you can swim with your gun. And then because the game doesn't like you having like I guess like, this is again very hand wavy. The game doesn't like you having your gun out in water. So when you go into your scope mode while in water, it puts you out of the water and locks whatever angle your character was at the time, which is how we can position our Kong like this. So because of how the game handles collision, being only at the front of the Kong, this allows us to walk through walls, which is obviously very useful. But you have to be really careful in this state because Toyo can't do a normal jump. Um, like you can see him doing long jumps, you can see him doing backflips, but you can't actually just press A to jump normally. That would put you out of skew state. Or you can't enter water, and you will lose the skew state whenever you actually enter a loading zone. So he will try his best to keep the skew state here until he's done with this temple section. Um, Losing it here would lose a lot of time, and it's one of the sort of biggest frustrations among newer runners that I've seen because it is just so counterintuitive. Like if you hit a slope, for
Oh,
example,
for
your
sure.
immediate instinct is just to jump out of it and stuff like that. You have to really fight your instincts a lot of the time. All right, we're done with Angry Aztec. At a fairly
All
good
right.
pace, I might add.
Looks like he's out of Aztec. All right. So it looks like we're on our way to Frantic Factory next after we do our key turn ins. So in Toyo's route, he should already have 15 golden bananas. In some of the more current routes, you usually enter factory lobby with 14 golden bananas, and you I love he's showing off his DK64 cart. And you usually do a moon kick to get DK's factory lobby instrument golden banana to get to 15.
Yeah.
Factory is going to be an extremely difficult level, but it's going to be fodder for some very interesting, interesting tricks and whatnot.
Yeah. Factory
Like I said
Factory
before,
is
though,
arguably the hardest
he
level in the
already
run,
has all of the
depending
necessary
on which
moves.
tricks Toyo's gonna be going for. So if he's going for all the sort of fastest possible strats, I'd say Factory is the hardest. The only contestant really is Crystal Caves, which comes later on. However, there's a couple of optional tricks in Factory that he
Yeah.
might not go for. I'm not entirely sure, which would probably make Caves harder.
I would say based
Definitely not
on the route that Toyo uses, Factory is probably harder for him.
better. Yeah. I'm thinking of F key snag. I'm not
Oh,
sure if he goes for it. I think he does in world record attempts, but I mean, there's
I
no.
I believe he's gonna go for the piano game spawn snag,
I guess
yes.
there's not much reason not to.
Okay, so here we go. I also believe he's going to try to open Tiny's vent out of bounds. So basically, when he enters factory here, he's going to try to long jump into the cutscene. Oh, he gets the frame perfect long jump, which is very nice. He's just going to run up to the wall, phase walk through it, and he's going to adjust his angle. I've seen him do this a few different times, and he's going to try to perfectly open a vent out of bounds, which basically skips having to do certain movement for Tiny Kong.
Yeah,
Yeah, looks like he's finally through the
we're
wall.
not gonna
Yeah,
be
you
able.
can see him kind of
Oh,
adjusting his angle specifically,
we're not gonna be able to
and
hear this, but the
looks
way people
like
usually do
let's see
this
if he
is
gets it.
by sound cue.
It does look like he got the vent open.
Yeah,
Very nice. He did
usually
not
you
have to
have
go
to
into
be
first person, and
listening
he gets
for
the
the sound
production
of
room
the
golden
vent
banana.
opening. And what happened there is in the arcade room, which we're going to be going to later, there is a cage for a tiny golden banana, and you would have to go through a pipe using the mini monkey power, like the smaller tiny, to get to the golden banana. And once you get to the golden banana, there's a cage that opens automatically. However, that cage is not actually opened by getting the golden banana. It's opened by being in that room, and the trigger for that extends infinitely upwards and downwards. So what happened there is Toyo went under that cage, out of bounds, and opened it that way.
Yep. So now we're
Right.
gonna free Chunky. It's finally come.
The last Kong.
Indeed. Now I haven't seen Toyo doing this dance skip in particular. I've been seeing him mostly just run into this banana. And I think he's going to start the Mad Jack fight. Yup, yeah, he's just gonna collect the banana and enter the Trough and Scoff portal,
Yeah.
and we get to talk about the Mad Jack fight,
We haven't actually even
which
talked
is
about
actually
what
my
dance
personal
skips are, but
favorite fight in this game.
um, I mean, it's the dance skips aren't really lag based, but we haven't really talked about dance skips. So you might have, if you've been watching this, you might have seen some, like when Toyo goes to collect some golden bananas, he throws an orange at himself, and that is not to like damage yourself particularly. It's to like damage yourself into a golden banana, because being in a different animation state blocks you from getting the banana dance animation, which saves a good 5 seconds every time.
Yep.
All right.
So for this particular fight, There is a preset number of jumps that Mad Jack does. For phase 1, it's 9 jumps, I believe.
I
And
think it's
then
9,
2,
11.
it's 11. For phase 3, it's 12. Phase 4, it's 13. And phase 5, it's 15. For the
Yes.
first 3 phases, you can basically chase Mad Jack around and jump towards him to get as many fast jumps as possible. He does do slow jumps if you're a bit too close to him.
Yeah.
However, in phase 4 and 5, you're going to notice that Majak starts to have a particular preferencing pattern of movement, where he starts to chase you more than you're able to chase him.
Yeah. So
So it looks
basically
like we are on phase
basically
4 right now. You're going to
mm,
notice that Toyo's movement changes up here. He starts doing more of an hourglass sort of shape of movement here. Although it looks like Majak is giving him the runaround. He's
yeah.
just doing this in order to maximize the number of fast jumps he can get. Oh, this is a little scary. Okay, okay, he's still gonna get the switch though.
Yeah.
You
So
can
basically to
actually get a
sort
skip
of break
there.
down what Toru said there, the goal in this fight is to always be like more than one square away from Majak, so he's doing the faster jumps. And the big difference between the first 3 and the last 2 phases is that Majak can jump back into the square he was in. In the first 3 phases, he can't. In the later phases, he can. So you have to like do a little like different sort of patterning. It is technically possible to get all fast jumps in the later phases as well, but it's very difficult and risky, especially on VC. So usually when he does the figure 8 pattern, you get like 3 out of 4 fast jumps.
Looks like he's made the best of some pretty meh switch luck,
Yeah,
honestly.
the switch
Um,
spawns are random
the
and
RNG force switches can absolutely be manipulated, but it's pretty difficult to do unless you've already kind of mapped it out. So, if you recall, we were talking about Tiny's vent golden banana. Um, so here's the vent. It's already open. He's just gonna go ahead and grab the banana. Nice and fast golden banana. And then
right,
in this
do
route, he's
another
just going to
phase walk.
phase walk right through this wall. On N64, we usually do the spinning wheel here with Tiny. And the current
VC would
one,
do that as well,
no
but
levels early phase walk route does do it as well.
yeah,
However, this is just one of the things Toyo does differently. Instead of doing that, he opts to do the Batty Barrel Bandit, which is like the slot machine mini game, right after he collects Chunky's blueprint here.
which is actually
And
I'd say that's honestly pretty questionable, but again, preference plays a big role when routing this run specifically. Like, what golden bananas are you comfortable with? Doing the spinning wheel for it to be faster, you have to do 2 phase walks, so it's kind of difficult to do it fast enough for it to be fast, I guess. But I don't think this would be the golden banana you swap out optimally because mini games are slow. There's only like a small handful of mini games that are actually fast enough to
mhm,
be within the fastest 100 golden bananas.
for sure. So
But it
one
is
thing
easy.
I think we definitely need to explain as it's coming up very soon is the piano game Spawn Snag. I'm fairly confident that toyomana is going to do it. So first of all, I need to explain what orang stand tag barrel storage is. So orang stand is where basically Linky does his handstand and walks around. Um, there's a frame perfect movement that you can do called skid jumping that allows you to kind of maintain your floor while you are in the air and also cause you to gain height. You'll see what I mean pretty soon. You can go into a orang stand and enter a barrel at the same time. And if you hit them on the same frame, then you will fall out of the tag barrel and be in a no clip state. Just like that. Wow, he got a first try. So now he's doing some remote movement. He's in a no clip state. He does about 20 movements down left to the piano game room, does two
Wow.
backflips, and boom, he gets the piano game golden banana where it's stored. The
That
same
was
way he got
incredibly
the
clean.
claptrap golden banana earlier.
Yeah. The reason you do tag barrel storage there is to keep your camera locked in the tag barrel. That way the piano game room will not load and golden banana will be collectible. If you just went there normally out of bounds, quote unquote normally out of bounds, then the room would load and the banana would not be there. You know you've ran this game for a
I
while when
love
you
that we can
think
just
that out of bounds is
normally go out
normal.
of bounds.
Yeah. Going out of bounds is totally normal. Let's just say that glitchless
All right, so now it looks
speedruns
like
for
we've
this
gotten a
game
little bit
is
of
a
a break.
challenge
Yeah. It is actually very hard to not get glitches in this game.
because sometimes you just get them on accident, and sometimes they're just so easy that you do them out of habit.
All right,
yeah,
so it
those
looks
actually
like the
really
next section that Toyo is coming up to is the production room. It's going to be very important that he pays attention to the conveyor cycles. I
Yeah.
believe he's going to do the dark room first. He just does a
This is
skid jump here. You saw him do that earlier for orang stand. And he's going to grab the corner of this box here and is just going to pull himself up in a specific way in order to just grab the golden banana right out of the box. But yeah, now he's going to head over to the production room and hit Chunky's production room switch to spawn his Crusher golden banana. And it's going to give him a ton of time to just make his way over there. So he's basically just going to make his way around to all of the production room golden bananas, except for, I believe, Tiny's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think only
Duly noted
Tiny's
by here, by the
is
way,
not done.
note that we never had to climb this conveyor tower because of the out of bounds that he did at the start of the level and tagged warp 4 from the top. You can just warp up instead of having to climb up here, which saves a lot of time. Yeah, this is
This
casually
has been a great
maybe
factory
the
for
hardest
Toyo.
platforming section in the game. Platforming in this game is deceptively difficult, even though it is an intended part of the game, simply because hitboxes are really jank and
Absolutely.
yeah, mostly just hitboxes are really weird. So sometimes you can just
They're
get
super weird in this game, yeah.
you can just get stuck on a wall for no reason and just miss a jump and have to redo everything.
Speaking of kind of wonky stuff, he's coming up to DK's blueprint here. So basically, the way blueprints work in this game is they're stored in these Kasplat guys that he's shooting at. You can see that their hair signifies whose blueprint is intended. So that's DK in this case, and they can easily just turn in blueprints for golden bananas at Snides.
And yeah, he just walked
And
through a wall.
oh, nice. Just gonna walk through this wall real quick.
Fun fact about that out of bounds clip, that was actually found by a casual Let's Player way back in the day. Like, he just happened to be running into that wall as the Crusher came down and just clipped out. Yeah,
Of course he did.
DK64.
Of course.
And no, that Let's Player was not called Connor75.
All right. So
Yeah, that is Zenwood
is
Factory. This
that
is actually like I'm
instrument
gonna have to know,
pad
this is
golden
actually like
banana
a
that I
really
was
good run
referring to
right now.
earlier that some of the upper level runners get before factory. So Toyo is trying to alter his camera here to get a favorable banana bounce here and get a dance skip. Very nice. Very, very nice. I saw him practicing that the other day. It's very, very nice. And he's going to punch this box.
Yeah. So that is that is a different way of getting a dance skip. So far we've seen him just do it with oranges mostly, like going into the damage state. But it also works like if you're high enough up from the floor, the game will think that you would fall to your death, I guess. If it puts you into the dance state and drops you down, so it just will not play if you're a certain height away from the floor. So the reason that worked is because DK was above, like in the air above the normal floor, where like when he grabbed the banana up on the steps.
Yep.
And the third reason you can get a dance skip is
So
if you're
we've
underwater.
got another instrument pad, golden banana here.
I don't think the underwater stuff actually becomes relevant in NLE. Is there a banana you can drop into water? I don't think so. The only one I can think of is Vulture GB in Aztec, but that's obviously not here.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
One thing that's going to
So
be
now
pretty
we're going to be
important. We
doing
talked
our
about
yeah, we're doing our
skewing
only bit of
earlier.
backtracking here.
We're going to
This game
see
is
Tiny
sort of
do another skew here.
God, this is distracting when we're speaking on top of each other. But yeah, we're going to be doing a little bit of backtracking. Like this game is sort of infamous for having a lot of backtracking, supposedly, which is sort of misunderstood, I guess, because it's most of the backtracking is not actually necessary. However, this is one of the cases where, like, when we were in Japes first, we didn't have all the Kongs available, so we're gonna come back here for some quick golden bananas as Lanky, Tiny, and Chunky. But yeah, fun fact: aside from not having the Kongs unlocked, the only two occasions of forced backtracking where you had to go into a later level and come back is Rabbit Race Golden Banana in Fungi because you need a rank stand sprint, which you get in caves, and the Battle Crown in Fungi Lobby because you need Gorilla Gon for Chunky, which is also in caves. So only one Golden Banana and one Battle Crown. So we're going to be using Skew again for quite a lot of this because in this level there is a banana locked in a cage that you would normally unlock by going to another area in the level and hitting a switch for this particular Kong and navigating your way back to the cage under a timer. Using Skew walking, we can just walk through the cages and make these GBs really, really fast. So it's going to be a lot of just walking around collecting these. Again, this is sort of, for beginners, this is one of the scarier sections of a run because, again, of how peculiar Skew walking is, especially getting up this funky banana hut. This banana can kill a lot of skews if you fall into between the Rip Zoro. If you fall in between the, what are those called? Like the peels, I guess. It will just put you in a perpetual sliding state that you have to jump out of. So it has killed lots of runs in the past. It's sort of easy to work around if you know what you're doing, but it requires knowing what you're doing, which is not trivial, obviously. And yep, we're gonna end this skew state by going into the painting room. Again, loading zone takes away skew walking. This is, by the way, probably one of the most broken rooms in the game. There's, I think, like 18 ways to clip out of bounds in this room. And the golden banana is just sitting behind the painting here, so all you need to do is get out of bounds somehow, and you can go around and grab it. You don't need to do the whole hitting the poles and killing the zingers to do it. You might see, if you look and watch other speedruns of this game, you might actually see some people do the minigame anyway. The reason is that there's a fairy that spawns after you grab that golden banana normally, but the fairy doesn't spawn if you do it from out of bounds. So you either have to do the minigame or you need to exit the room and re-enter for the fairy to be there. And because a lot of the times we don't open that gate, you can't just walk in and out, at least not very quickly. All right, another rare, fast bonus barrel. And one of the harder dance skips following this up. See if he gets it. You have to like throw an orange and then jump into it. Yes, he gets it. A good job. There's a very small time window to be able to jump into that sometimes. And then we just have Chunky's Underground, which you would normally just break the boulder and pound your way into from above, but you can just swim into it from underwater. Easy. Oh no.
Yep. So.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Welcome back, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was trying to figure out the issue of not being able to. I still can't really hear you. So.
Okay. Ripperoni.
Yeah, ripperoni. I have to like wait for the stream to catch up. But anyways,
Before that fall though, like
Chunky's
this is
going
actually
to
like a
grab
really good
the
run so far.
blueprint here as well as the golden banana and underground.
This is a low
I
51
believe he's
energy.
just going to jump down here. So we've got one more golden banana left in Japes 2, and here it is. He
was trying to go for it.
He was trying to go for the dance skip there for a second, but he decided to just
I think
go
he just
ahead and pick up the
accidentally
golden
walked into it.
banana. Don't really
Yeah.
blame him. It's kind of hard to get the dance skip there by getting damage from the Zinger, which is the name of that bee.
Yeah. Normally you would want to
And that's
use
the
the
end of Japes
beaver,
2.
but because the beaver movement is way more predictable, but the beaver was far away.
Yeah, exactly. So the next level we are going to make our way over to is Gloomy Galleon, but first we have a few things that we got to do beforehand. Particularly, we want DK's Cage GB here. It's a pretty fast golden banana, and then we are going to go straight into Galleon with, I believe, Chunky.
Yeah. So Galleon
Zaf, would
is
you mind hopping out of the call and then hopping back in, see if that fixes the issue?
all right. Sure. There we go.
Yeah,
Did it-
no, I don't.
No. Rip. But yeah. So Galleon is this game's mandatory water level. As you might have noticed in some older platforming games, there's always a water level and it always sucks. But as you might imagine in a game where swimming through walls is a trivial way of getting out of bounds, the water level becomes incredibly broken because you can just swim everywhere at will.
Yeah, pretty much. So Chunky's gonna go ahead and break this chest right here, and oh, there's a golden banana, easy peasy.
And yes, that in
And
the
then
same chest.
Toyo's gonna show off another way of skewing the Kong. I believe he does do cannon skew, not here, but he's going to do it very soon after tagging the high warp 3.
Yeah, this is looking like the old route, so yes, probably.
Yeah.
So
So
the way you get skew here is by you throw an orange here that is gonna come back at you and enter the cannon so that the orange blows you out of the cannon animation. Like right as you're flying out of the cannon, you get hit. And because this is the angle that you have going out of the cannon, it sticks. And while it looks even funnier than the normal skew walking, it has some downsides where you can only clip through walls backwards because you're skewed the other way around. But the way you can do that is just by pulling out your gun and jumping that way because while you can't jump normally, you can jump with your gun out because logic. And yeah, that was another spawn snag. That were right there was the cannon game, which was normally kind of difficult casually. Um, but again, he keeps the room unloaded, which is why he clipped out of bounds so far away and navigated around the wall to skip it.
all right, so we've got a pretty chill section coming up here. We have Diddy's blueprint here, and then a few turn-ins at Snides after Diddy's going to raise the water using this up switch.
Mm,
It's just going to make a bunch of the level more accessible, including
yeah,
Lanky's blueprint, which was in that cannon game room that we saw earlier.
yeah. Fun fact: it is actually possible to completely
So
100% this
first
level
and
on high
foremost,
water
we have some
using
tiny
glitches.
turn-ins.
So the reason we're doing some of the blueprint turn-ins now is simply to have enough golden bananas to enter fungi later. Normally, we would want to turn in as many blueprints as possible at once, so you're going to see the rest of the turn-ins right at the end, um, because there's always this sort of cutscene as you enter, which wastes a lot of time. So you want to stack these as much as possible. But the alternative golden bananas before Fungi Forest are so slow that it's not worth it. You will also see the same turn-in used in 101% runs because for a different reason, for getting extra time on the helm shutdown. So normally when you go into hideout helm, you have a timer to shut. You have the timer to shut down the blastomatic, and if the timer runs out, the game you get a game over. And the timer starts at 10 minutes, and for every blueprint you turn in, Snide is able to sabotage the blastomatic startup sequence, so you get 1 minute for every blueprint. So you turn in 3 or 4 blueprints to get a little bit of extra time.
All right, so we are going off to fight Puff Toss. So all of these stars here are basically predetermined. They're all going to be in predetermined spots, which is why Toyo's going to know exactly which way to go. There's no real elements of RNG here except for Puff Toss's fireballs every now and then.
Yeah, he's
Um,
sometimes a real
so
sniper with those. Like he just predicts your movement and just shoots wherever you have, like right there, wherever you are going to go, and it's really frustrating.
right.
Misses shockwave too.
So since this is really predictable,
And
Toyo's
by
movement's
predictable
going to
does
seem
not mean easy, by the way.
extremely fluid in this particular case. Most people just find themselves going in circles like crazy during this fight. But in reality, a lot of these stars are pretty close together.
Yeah, the game
So each
tricks
one
you
of
because
these
there's a
stars is
small delay. Yeah,
basically spawning one of these pylons that electrocutes the puffer fish,
yeah.
and the stars just get smaller with each phase,
And you can
and you
notice
have
there's
less
that
less
small delay
time.
between the stars spawning, which is why, like, you might remember when you're playing this casually, you really just like you drive in a circle, trying to find them because you won't see the star spawning right on top of you before you're already way past it, and then you're just like, where is it? Then you have to go like all the way around.
Looks
So
like he may
yeah,
have gotten the key. Actually, I think he's gonna be a
I don't
little
think
bit
so. He's a little bit
behind the
short.
key.
A little short. more than a little, in fact.
Yep.
So ideally, you would want to get enough speed through that last gate to get to where the key spawns, so that the cutscene of the key spawning is cut short because it just gets on top of you. And that was another cheeky out of bounds clip. So fun fact, even though he cleared the Troffenskopf portal by defeating the boss, the hitbox for the portal is still there. So he can backflip on top of the portal to push himself out of bounds. This is true, I believe, of every TNS portal. Is just most of them can't be used to clip out of bounds like that because there's no ceiling that close, but the hitbox is always there.
Yeah, pretty much all of them are still there. The frame is always still there.
And the way and the way
So
and
we
the
get to
reason I'm
visit
unsure is because this game is weird
Patrick
sometimes,
Star.
whereas like these rules don't apply to everything. So here's Patrick, the angry starfish. Bye, Patrick.
Oh, or not. Thank goodness.
Yeah, so because we break
Good
into
to
that
see him
starfish's
being
home to
nice.
grab the golden banana, sometimes he gets mad and hits us in the face. Like, to be fair, if someone breaks into your house and grabs your gold, like, you would get mad and want to hit them in the face too, but still, he's unreasonable.
Why is a starfish being territorial about a golden banana? The world may never know.
Yeah. I mean, obviously starfish eat bananas, duh. But yeah, some of these golden bananas are just sort of chilling around in these rooms. And again, because of swimming through walls being so OP, you don't actually need to do the whole finding the correct instrument pad and playing your instrument and getting to the particular gate during like under a timer. You can just swim through it. Restart Discord entirely. I can try.
All right. So Lanky is just going to swim right through this wall. Easy peasy. And Toyo's going to void out here. Like we said earlier, you got to find really interesting ways of getting back to the beginning of the level. In this particular case, he's going to be swimming through the wall again here back to the canon game room to get the blueprint that we were referring to earlier.
All right. Did that help? Can you hear me? I'm going to take that as a no.
Yeah, I still can't hear you. I'm going to try again.
Do you have your... Okay, he just left. I was wondering maybe his Discord sound output is set wrong. That would explain it. Because clearly my voice is coming through Discord, so... Yeah, God knows. If his output channel is set wrong, then obviously he wouldn't hear me. I mean, it's like clearly mine is set correctly because I can hear Zoru and you guys can hear me. So I don't know. Anyway, we're done with Galleon. And that is, by the way, like you saw On Guard being used there. That is the only instance of the animal buddies from DKC being used in the run.
I can hear you.
Yay!
Yes, dude. All right, we are in business.
Let's go. So yeah, as I was saying, like even in casual gameplay, you will see On Guard being used in that particular level only twice, and you will see Ram be used once in Jungle Japes. But yeah, so DKC animal buddies criminally underused in this game.
Absolutely, I agree. I wish they used Unguard a lot more than they actually did.
It's kind of like weird because they clearly wanted to include them in the sort of 3D DKC, if you will, but only added 2 of them and only used like 3 times combined. Like why? Why wouldn't you add the rest of them, or why wouldn't you have them be used more? It's sort of
I
a
don't
weird
know.
design choice.
All right,
Maybe they
so here we
maybe they
see,
ran out of time.
yeah, maybe. So here we see Toyo getting the fairy camera as well as the ability to shockwave. The fairy
Yeah.
camera pretty much allows you to, take pictures of fairies, of course, but we're not really too worried about that. It's really the shock waving that's important since it's a really fast way to kill Kasplats and get blueprints.
Yeah.
We saw,
It's a yeah. I
yeah,
mentioned earlier that we don't need to take fairies. It's actually weird because like we didn't use to get the camera at all in these runs. And then people started getting the camera for something called fall through vertical walls, where you can do like a phase fall with Chunky to get out of Helm, as I mentioned earlier. Um, so we started getting camera here. And then even after that trick was sort of phased out, pun maybe intended, by doing phase walks instead, where we don't really need the camera for anything. We still get the camera because people realize that shockwave just saves so much time for because black kills and for gun dives and the camera for gun dives and stuff. It's actually he's not going to be doing any gun dives. Scratch that. But yeah, it just saves so much time for killing the splats.
mhm.
Oh, no, and he will need it for takeoff skip if he decides to go for it, which I kind of doubt. Or he
Nah,
might go
I
for
don't
it
think
just
he's
to
gonna
like
go
try.
for a
He might
takeoff
go for
skip.
it just to like try to showcase it, but it is very unlikely that he'll get it
That
because
would be nuts if he went for takeoff skip, which essentially is um, attempting to skip the final cutscene where K Lumsey is freed.
yeah,
Um,
we're the final
I
boss
mean,
spawns.
I don't want to explain how it works unless he actually
We'll we'll
decides
we'll
to
we'll, talk,
go for it.
we'll talk about it when he gets there, or during the cutscene when he doesn't go for it, because it
Yeah.
is interesting. But for now, we can just talk about the fact that Hunky Chunky is actually incredibly fast. Turns
Hmm.
out is actually like the fastest form of movement pretty much in the entire game is swimming Hunky Chunky. And because his speed scales with his size, um, and his hitbox scales with his size, obviously, it makes Hunky Chunky really busted in many ways. Like you can just clip through walls by jumping at them and move really fast generally.
Fun because you can have Giant Chunky just jump right into this barrel as or this cannon as well. And once he comes down, he's already de-transformed.
Hmm.
All right, but now we're entering Fungi Forest with 53 bananas of the 50 required.
Yes. Which is kind of frustrating because without the blueprint turn-ins earlier, he would have been at 49. And yes, it is actually faster to just take the 4 blueprint turn-in right there instead of just getting one more golden banana. So if someone wants to solve a routing puzzle, go ahead. But yeah, Fungi Forest, arguably maybe the easiest level in this run. Maybe. At least it kind of used to be. There's not much hard stuff going on. But fun fact, here's the only cooperative GB where you actually use all of the Kongs to get a golden banana. Because you have to shoot all of these switches to spawn it for DK.
Yeah, we
And
call it
you're
the
likely going to
mushroom
be
cannon
seeing another
GB.
cutscene overlap. I'm not sure if we mentioned this, but the way cutscenes work generally in this game is that if there are 2 cutscenes playing on top of each other, the one that started later just takes precedence and the earlier one is cancelled. So you've seen like it's happened a couple of times in this run. We just didn't mention it. Is where it's like you take a long cutscene and then you immediately trigger a short cutscene, like overlapping the cannon spawning with the GB spawning,
There it was.
so that you just watch less cutscenes because cutscenes bad.
Pretty much.
Shoutouts to Invisible Cannon. Because the cannon animation actually spawns before the visuals of the cannon, so you can shoot out of an invisible cannon. Fun.
Yep. Alright, so looks like he's going to go ahead and do Dark Room now. He's just going to climb up with Lanky, hit the switch, and enter the Dark Room. This is actually a hilariously fast golden banana. You literally just enter this room, hop on a mushroom,
Yeah, don't blink,
and
guys.
grab
Don't
the
blink.
banana and leave. Like,
Don't
this
blink.
this is possibly one of the laziest golden bananas in the entire game.
There we go. Solid 5 seconds.
Yep. Alright, let's hope he doesn't get trolled by this Kasplat, man. It's always so hard to watch people get trolled by this Kasplat. Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, not the waterfall you get. Okay, so reading chat is like the top of the island bonus barrel for Diddy is kind of cooperative because you need Chunky to pick up the boulder, and then Lanky to play the instrument to spawn the rocket barrel, and then play the rocket barrel up there. So you use 3 conks. That is actually true.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you use 3 out of 5. That's, I think, the second best. Nothing uses 4. I don't think.
Yeah, I wish they did more cooperative stuff in this game.
Yeah, it's sort of like if you really had the time and the resources to like work out this format, because the unique sort of feature of this game compared to other DK games is obviously being able to use 5 different Kongs. So actually utilizing that aspect of the design would be cool, I guess, but it's kind of underutilized. It just ends up being like 5 individual games, which is a big gripe for a lot of people. Is the sort of central mechanic of the game not being utilized well enough, I guess.
Yeah. Alright, so we see Toyo coming over here to the
You think he
owl
will go for
area,
the
as we
Death Man
call it.
skip?
Going to go ahead and get Lanky's blueprint right here, and then I believe he's going to head into the anthill.
He's not skewed, so I'm not actually
Oh
sure.
wait, yeah, he's not skewed.
He
What
might
is
not
up with that?
actually be going for it at all.
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah,
right.
in current
This
routes
does seem
you
a
would,
little
yeah.
bit different.
Yeah, in current routes you would normally skew there as Tiny when coming here, just doing the normal, like the gun skew method from before, and then walk into the anthill or claptrap nest or whatever you want to call it, and get the golden banana there because it's fast. Unsure why Toyo isn't going for it.
It's interesting. I guess this is just like he has like a safer version of the fungi route, because a lot of this was really really new to me as far as his routing choices. I've never seen these routing choices before. I think it might be a marathon safe version, because really, I guess he
I'm not
doesn't really
like
go for
I
it.
haven't actually looked at his PB, whether or not he does the sort of up to date route on that, because I have a feeling he doesn't. I have a feeling this is just the route that he does.
Mm-hmm.
And again, probably it might just be like a language barrier thing where he just doesn't know that it's not up to date because the routes are all in English. Because he's like one of 2 Japanese runners, and Signa doesn't run this category at all.
That's true. It's very possible.
It's kind of funny how America centric this community is. Like it's a fairly large speedrunning community, and I believe I'm still the only active quote unquote active European runner, and there's like 2 Japanese runners. Also, that was the boss fight.
So basically, what just happened there is a trick called Dogadon done quick, or Doga done quick. Basically, if you place a TNT barrel in front of Dogadon and take damage at the same time as Dogadon hitting both you and the TNT barrel, it will trigger the ending sequence for the key 5 fight. Now, this can be extended to the key 2 fight as well. So you could have technically gotten key 5 in the key 2 fight. Um,
which is what a lot of 101% runs does.
yeah,
But
a lot of 101
the
runs do
reason
that.
the reason you don't do that here is because we have an additional rule for no levels early where you have to defeat all bosses. So he could have gone key 5 in Aztec, but he still needs to come and defeat this boss. And the reason that rule exists is specifically for this, so that there's no weird sort of sequence breaking where you don't come into fungi at all or something like that. It's very likely to be like mostly nominal, but such a rule exists just to keep the spirit of the category, so to speak.
Right. All right. Let's see. So, just another phase swim here, right through to Diddy's box. That's actually supposed to be a much more interesting banana to get, but thanks to phase swimming, can just go right through that wall, easy peasy. Just go into
Yeah.
first person, change your angle, and then keep swimming.
That golden banana is the perfect example of how speedrunning ruins casual gameplay. Because I know a
Hmm.
lot of speedrunners of this game who don't know how to get that GB casually.
I mean, that's fair. All right, looks like we
Because
are at the
H room
end of
doesn't
fungi
exist.
here. Toyo's just gonna void out with the skew he got from the vines. Basically, those vines can damage you. So if you swim right under them, uh, DK will basically be in the position that he was in after he gets knocked out and takes damage, which will be a regular skew.
Yeah. And yes, we used SQ just to void out. Literally the only purpose of that. It's not even required. It's just faster. Alright.
Here we go. We're going coming up to Crystal Caves. Time to start Monka essing, I guess.
Yeah, is this arguably the second hardest or hardest, depending on your perspective, level in the run. And
Yeah,
it
I
is
mean it
it's
definitely.
fairly late into the run, so caves might just be the run killer level number one. Because usually people don't care if your run dies early game, as much as least. But like a lot of really good runs have died in caves. And I guess like generally like the overarching theme of Crystal Caves is that everything looks the same, and there's going to be rocks falling on you periodically.
Gotta
So
love
that
the kosher.
unless your movement is really consistent, um, going all around the level, the rock fall starts at different times, which might mess you up big time.
Yep.
The route and the movement is set up in a way that if you do it properly, you shouldn't be getting rock falls at any crucial moments. But if you see him like fall into the water when he shouldn't, or make other sort of bigger mistakes like that, it might become relevant.
For sure. All right.
Shoutouts to Meme Jump, and shoutouts to like at least me as a kid thinking you can only make it to caves using Tiny because you have to go around that corner.
I think that
Turns out
might
you
have
can get there
actually
with anyone.
been how they wanted you to do it, either that or Diddy. Um, but I'm not
DK can
sure.
make it pretty easily as well. Lanky's the hardest, and funnily enough, the fastest in 101%. You do that as Lanky after playing his instrument pad outside.
Yep.
It's doable. It's pretty doable with a rank stand jumping, but like just with a jump aerial, it's really really precise.
Absolutely. Think okay, so looks like Toyo has a pretty decent camera here with particular camera angling, you can get Squawks to drop the golden banana right onto the monkey.
Nope.
Ooh, that was very close. He almost got it. He got it with Chunky earlier on his instrument pad.
Yeah. And it's just like hitting the golden banana cuts the spawning cutscene short, and then you don't have to move into it, obviously, so it saves like an extra second or so. Not a big deal.
So we're
Right,
gonna
so
see
we're gonna
Toyo.
go for arguably like maybe like no, okay, no, like not yet. But there's a skew section here at the start, which you kind of want to do really fast, because when the rockfall starts the first time, you will see the cutscene of the Kasha messing around at the top of caves, and so that cutscene actually stops your momentum. So a really bad thing that could happen is getting the cutscene right as you jump over this river, which almost
Oh,
happened
that was
right there.
close.
And it will kill your momentum and drop you into the water. And as I mentioned earlier, if you fall into the water, you lose skew, so you'd have to re-get that.
Like, it is vital to have skew here.
Yes, this is this when you use the skew to get into this room with Diddy's blueprint, and before phase walking, aka like more than a year ago, this losing skew in this room would have been a soft lock. Because as far as we know, there is no other way of getting out of that room as Diddy than phase walking. Because as you might remember, main menu mode means that we can't just pause exit, and the game doesn't save, so you can't reset. So if you get locked inside a room, the run is dead. And not just because of time loss, it's still because you literally cannot continue.
Mhm. So one of the nice parts of having skew here is he can literally just roll right into the rotating room. And he's going to skip a pretty long puzzle here with a single moon kick and a pretty nice 180 flip of DK. You'll see what I mean by that. He's not going to literally do a backflip, but man, would that be awesome. All
Yeah,
right,
so
come on, Toyo.
this is probably the hardest moon kick in the run, simply because that ledge is so low down and the camera is locked above you, so you can't really see your height very well.
Hmm. There we go.
Struggling a little bit, but he gets it.
Nice 180 turn, and that's it. It can be like a crazy fast golden banana, but it is like reasonably a pretty tough moon kick to get. Yeah.
Yeah. But like for a new runner, for example, like you can try that moon kick like 15 times and it will still be faster than doing the room casually because of how slow it is to turn the room.
All right, this is one of my personal favorite rooms in the game, just because of how versatile it can be for each runner. Tiny's five-door cabin. Basically, the idea just being that you need to kill all of these purple clap traps that can only be really killed in this case with oranges. And one of the things we didn't really mention yet is the importance of resources in no levels early. In most other categories, you're just maxed out on resources and don't have to worry about it. But here,
Yeah,
oranges can usually be a pretty tough thing to hold on to.
yeah.
In that particular case, he actually was also able to get a dance skip by floating over where the golden banana's pathing was going to be right before it spawned.
And like during the dance, he just falls to his death. But yeah, normally like in 101% runs, we don't need to worry about resources basically at all because you're getting the banana fairies everywhere, and when getting a banana fairy, your resources are fulfilled. And also, when you buy your gun, for example, you start off with max ammo. Whereas, like I mentioned after ISG, doing the main menu mode glitch at the start sets all of your resources to zero except the oranges, which you get after main menu mode.
Right. All right, so here we go. It's time for a big game break right here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see
Arguably the hardest skew section in the run.
for sure. So Toyo is going to dive here with Chunky. He's going to get skew. First, he's going to get the Gorilla Gone GB. Pretty simple to get.
Even up to here was actually deceptively hard because Chunky is so fat that during low water cycles, like when water waves, when the water goes down, he actually can't dive because it's too shallow. So you have to exit the water out of bounds as it's high to be able to even dive and do the skew.
So Toyo's gaining some height over here. And he's going to be trying to get to Chunky's Ice Shield Golden Banana. He's taking a pretty interesting route here, trying to load the room.
Yeah.
This is
The way
this is a
Chunky,
super scary jump.
yeah, because you can't see Chunky, you can't see the wall. Okay. There is luckily a backup. There didn't used to be, but again, we can just the reason we don't just jump into here, like it's pretty easy to just jump into the igloo from this particular wall. The problem is getting out. So before phase walking, which Toyo is doing now, there was no way of getting out of this ice shield. Again, a soft lock, which is why you needed skew to get out. So if you missed that jump like he did, that would be like a minute lost because you'd have to get another GB instead. Oh, going for
nice,
the play. Actually,
nice
that might
safe
have been an
strat.
accident. That might have been an accident. He
You
might have
think
been trying to
so?
pull his gun and go into first person.
That's very possible.
Yeah.
Oh
It
well.
is because that is really slow. Like, yeah. You can use your instrument to safely kill anything, almost, except in certain rooms where it's blocked, like the tiny room from earlier. But the instrument play takes like 10 seconds, so it is very rarely worth it.
Toyo's going for the safe, more casual way of getting Tiny's igloo GB here.
Yeah.
There is actually a small plane on the igloo that you can clip right through if you
Yeah,
jump onto the igloo.
clip through from the outside and phase walk out. You cannot clip inside and then take the warps out because you would never have tagged this outside warp. But that is what the current route does. You clip in and you clip out instead of taking the warp. Saves like 13 seconds.
Yep. This pretty much concludes the meat and potatoes of Crystal Caves. Now it's just going to be the Key 6 fight and heading out, basically.
Yeah.
So
Gonna try to do as many blueprint turn-ins here as possible because the only level left is Creepy Castle, and in Creepy Castle the tag barrel is really far from Snides, so we want to get most of our blueprint turn-ins out of the way here.
yeah, pretty much everyone else other than Diddy and DK.
Yeah. So 3 out of 5 is gonna just turn out here. So we're gonna be sitting here for like 2 minutes, just watching turn-ins. And yeah, I'm
So
gonna
we
get
just saw him
instrument
get
power for later.
Yep.
For the last GB, in fact, of the run.
I really like Toyo's choices of safe golden bananas that he's going for. I'll say that much. Like they are definitely very marathon safe. So I can definitely respect that.
He's basically doing like the pre-phase walk route with phase walks,
Yeah,
which
pretty much.
is pretty cool.
I'm gonna try to reach out to him sometime soon and send him an updated route and see what he thinks.
I've actually I've been in his stream a couple of times and trying to ask him, but the language barrier is pretty steep. Even though he speaks English fairly well for being Japanese.
Yeah, his English is really good.
Yeah, like for a Japanese person, his English is really good, but it's sometimes really hard to sort of explain routing nuances, I guess. But yeah, like for example, for the longest time, he was doing like hideout Helmus Chunky with phase walks, even though it's faster to do as DK. And the only reason we did it as Chunky is because Chunky was the only one who could do camera phase fall.
Right, right.
stuff
Thank
like that.
goodness for phase walking.
Yeah. Blessing and a curse. Blessing and a curse.
All right, so looks like we are going to make our way over to the Key 6 fight, which is going to be Armadillo 2. This is actually a fairly boring fight for no levels early since you don't take any damage.
Yeah, it's like the same fight as in the first level, just longer. It's like over 3 minute fight, and you don't even need to worry about lag reduction on VC. So you can just it's really just waiting out the phases. Not a whole lot of time to save or lose here.
And Shine says, boring boss, excellent music. Good point.
Yes, one of the best boss musics in the game. Sadly, we can't hear it on the stream because then we'd also hear Toyo talking over us.
Yep.
Stream audio's fun.
Destroy All Cats makes a good point. This our community definitely has some very dedicated tool assisted speedrunners as well who make low tads as well.
Yeah, like
Um,
between Ring Rush and Ballum, they've made like really good. Like there's an all out task of both any percent and no levels early. The no levels early being I think from this year actually. It's like fairly recent, isn't it? From like something
yeah,
in the
the no
summer.
levels early task was very, very recent.
Yeah. And
Definitely
before that,
recommend
we
that you
had a
guys
bunch
give
of
that a watch.
LOTADs, which stands for low optimized tool assisted demonstration. So that has been done twice for 101% and earlier for no levels early, just to demonstrate all the really crazy tech that can be done in this game, which is either not faster or way too difficult to do in normal runs by humans. So definitely go check those out. If you think the human run is crazy, you should totally see the tool assisted runs, especially the 101%.
Yeah,
It's
they're
crazy.
very mind bending.
So shout outs to Ballum.
And of course, a huge shout out to the rest of the DK64 community. If anyone watching is interested in speedrunning Donkey Kong 64, you can reach out to either one of us. There is a pretty prevalent community still. Most of us run on N64, but again, Wii U VC is faster. It just has
Mm,
slightly jankier controls.
yeah. It's a pretty nerdy community, honestly. Like there's a bunch of really science minded people. People really love like puzzle solving and finding new tricks and routing problems and stuff like that. Like even though there's generally not a whole lot of people running at any given time, the community is always really active on Discord, and you'll find answers to questions really quickly and stuff like that. Always someone
Yeah.
to help out.
I don't think if you know, I'll be honest, I don't think you and I established which one of us is who. So I am Zorulda.
You can't actually see that on stream. Oh god, good stuff. So Yazoru is our resident N64 runner god. Uh, I think you still have all N64 world records, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So he has world
I'm
record on
working on
in every all
101%.
three main categories on Nintendo 64, and I have like second place in everything. Not quite. Yeah, I run on VU Virtual Console, so getting that perspective in. Um,
All right, here
yeah.
we go. So
Let's see.
we are heading over to Creepy
One more
Castle.
level. After that quick interlude.
What you guys just saw happen was a what I would call a phase fall. It was more of like a ledge clip into a phase fall. Basically, if you do a ledge clip on a wall that is at the proper like the proper phase angle, you can just fall right through the wall if you do a ledge clip. basically how he was able to just fall right through that wall.
I was kind of hoping he would do the phase walk here, but just because it looks
Nah, that's
just
a scary move. Oh.
yeah.
I think it's really interesting that he clears that text first with Diddy.
It is optimally it is faster, but it needs some good movement and it only saves like half a second optimally.
Hmm. I should time that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I timed it at some point. Like if you get into the corner really tight and do a double jump to clear it, and then get a good turn from there, you can save up to like half a second, but it's like very minor. All right. Yeah. So we don't get to see air swimming, sadly, but we're gonna go into DK's tree here. This is, by the way, the only like the outside the tree is the only bee blast that you really don't need for anything in this game, because it only opens up this tree, and there's myriads of ways to get into it,
Yeah.
using glitches. Whereas
Yeah, you basically don't
all the
see
other bee blasts basically unlock golden banana directly somehow.
yeah, you basically don't see that baboon blast unless you're doing bingo. And even if you're doing bingo, you probably don't want to end up getting 7 baboon blasts.
Yeah. So yeah, normally you would drop down into the water from where he killed the Kasplat, and then you have to use sniper rifle to shoot some targets high up on the wall to raise the water to get to that golden banana. But the golden banana is just hanging around in the air, so if you clip out of bounds from the higher floor level, you can just kick jump to it.
Easy. And now Toyo's doing a modified version of the crypt swim. He phase swims through that particular wall that you just saw and right into the crypt. Now he's
Yep.
going to get Diddy's blueprint and exit the crypt, actually. This is actually the only reason that he's coming here is for Diddy's blueprint, but it's actually worth it because it's a very fast golden banana considering we're about to do turn-ins
hmm
with Diddy at Snides.
I
He's
hate to be
going
I hate to
to
be nitpicky, but it would have been faster to do Crypt Swim as Diddy.
yeah, probably could have done Crypt Swim as Diddy since he's both a faster swimmer and exactly who he wanted in that case.
Yeah.
Let's see. So he's going to enter the rocket barrel here and just fly pretty much straight up to Snides,
Yeah, just fly up
and
to
he's
the
going to do
top
our second to last turn in.
because like if you walk up to the top, it is like a long ass way, like up the spiral pathway, but you can just fly up. Why not?
Yeah, pretty much in any situation, we try to avoid climbing up castle the casual way of just like rolling or however you might think to go up the castle, just walking the path.
I love how Toyo actually still has his banana just for this.
God, I love toyomana so much. Like huge shout out to Toyo. He's such a nice and relatable dude, like outside of everything. And you can get that even with like a language barrier. You don't need to speak Japanese to be in his stream and
Yeah.
understand that
And he's
he
like
has a lot of love.
he runs really his like own community as well. Like he does like these sort of weird DK64 races against himself and has like a lot of like he runs and plays a lot of other games and has his own sort of big own community on the Japanese side. He's a really cool
Yep.
dude. Generally.
Please make sure you give this man a follow. He has just such an amazing community of people in general. And like they're all very supportive as well.
Yeah.
As we come to our final turn in, we're gonna have um another pretty big trick coming up, but it's pretty simple. Just I'm talking about library clip.
Yeah. It's just gonna be another ledge clip, but it's kind of a scary one because you do it from really high up. And if you miss it, you have to basically climb all the way up back to the top.
or hope that you get a decent phase walk into the door. But that in itself is pretty scary because you can just fall through the castle.
Yep. Because when you phase walk on a door, you just fall down sometimes. Because DK decides to, instead of phase walking on the door, he just phase walks on the like threshold. All right, so here goes. He'll turn his camera around and do like small jumps into this ledge to get a ledge clip.
Beautiful.
Very nice. And this way you enter the library from the supposed exit door instead of the normal entry, making like so that you can skip the entirety of library, because library is pretty long normally.
So right there, he just picked up the golden banana as he was watching the cutscene for the door opening.
Morning.
It looks like Toyo does do the shed golden banana here.
Yeah. And again, another really, but like it's sort of weird design wise. Some of these rooms allow you to play your instrument and some of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that do are usually really broken by using instruments, because all like normally those bats won't, they will be invisible until you use Gorilla Gun, and then you'd have to shoot them using homing ammo. But you can just play your instrument and kill them that way.
Yeah. All right, we are entering the last boss fight, other than K.
Last
Rool,
level
of course.
boss fight, I guess.
Hmm?
Last level boss, if you
Yeah,
will.
last level boss
We
fight.
still have K-Roll to
In
beat,
a
but
last-ditch effort to stop the monkeys, the Kremlings put together a cardboard cutout of King K. Rool.
yeah,
Try saying that 10 times
hoping that the
fast.
Kongs would be scared.
Cardboard cutout of King K. Rool. Oh,
and
God.
how you move this cardboard cutout around this sort of courtyard as fast as they do beats me. How it shoots lasers is
Give
also
them a
very
promotion, honestly.
and how they make a duplicate of it in the second phase is also a big mystery.
Mm-hmm.
So this boss just makes no sense on a lot of levels.
So I'll try to basically explain how this boss works. So now we're in the quote unquote second phase of the boss. Um, in this second phase, he gives you two possible cannons that he could be at. One is the shadow of the cutout, and one is the cutout itself. You can basically tell just based on the tint. So there we go. You can tell that the far one was the fake cutout.
Yeah, and they're always
Really, where people have the most trouble with this fight is the third phase, where cutout starts moving in like a counterclockwise pattern. Um, Really, most people thought that it's like a fairly random pattern, but it actually is very much predictable.
Yeah,
Based on
it would be hell if it was actually random, because especially on BC when there's no lag, it moves around really quickly. Like there's no way you can react in time.
it's
If it
important
were
to
actually
know where the cutout is shooting the lasers from, because based on that, you know where he's going to start the counterclockwise movement.
yeah,
So
and you're gonna see Toyo shoot himself at the cutout from the same side every time, and that miss right there was intentional, because you want to end this fight as Tiny. Oh,
no,
he missed the
Toyo.
cycle while killing the ghost. And yeah, that tag barrel's fake. Turns out. But yeah, he's gonna be shooting the cutout from the same side every time, because he wants to be on the wall that you can like swim through vertical walls through, which is only in one direction. And the reason is that the key will spawn in the middle of the fight after he defeats the boss, but you can just swim out and void, and it will give you the key. And fun fact, you can't do that as Diddy. Because
Don't
Diddy is
do
the
it as
last Kong
Diddy.
you give you. They come in a predetermined order. If you void out as Diddy, it will count you as dead in the fight, and so you'll lose the fight without getting the key, even though you defeated the boss.
But yay, that's key 7.
Yeah. Also, pointing out in chat, you can use this fight to unlock Kongs, because the game just sort of assumes that you have all the Kongs unlocked, so it will give you the Kongs in order in this boss fight. And by using various glitches, you can get to Castle earlier than intended without having all the Kongs unlocked, and just going to the boss fight, pause exit out of the fight as the Kong you want, and you will have freed that Kong, because you will exit the fight as that Kong.
This memer is doing trash can phase walk.
Because why not?
Lovely.
It's not nearly as hard on VC because there's no lag.
It definitely saves less time, though. I'll put it that way.
That is also true.
Oh my
Oh,
god, he's got to be
no.
so mad about that. That happens to me all the time. You're literally like inside of the golden banana, and you are literally like a pixel away from actually picking the golden banana up during the cutscene.
Yeah,
The weird
the
thing about that hitbox is that
specifically.
it's actually slightly to the left of where the golden banana actually is. So you need
Yeah.
to aim your kick slide a little bit more down right.
Yeah. All right, so that is the last full level done. Now all we have to do is do Hideout Helm for the last key, and on to the last boss. Another meme here, you have to remember to turn in 2 keys.
2 keys.
You
2
have to
keys.
You have to turn in both the caves and the castle keys, 6 and 7, to open Hideout Helm. There has been a world record run, at least one world record run lost to only turning in 1 key here, getting up to Hideout Helm entry, and realizing that the mouth is still closed.
I'm fairly certain I've done that before.
Falcon did it at least.
All right,
Although I
that's
don't
2 keys.
actually he didn't go all the way up. He realized like on the way there, but lost world record to that. Yeah, pretty much everyone has done it at some point, because it's just you have to, like, it is the same exact movement to do it again, and because you're so used to just going in once and then when you spawn back into the room you just walk out, that you do it out of habit.
That reminds me of another meme that we're definitely going to talk about, which is fake key 8, which I think is what Toyo is actually talking about right now, if I
Possible.
heard him correctly.
I
Because
can't really
Toyo
hear
did
that.
recently get a fake key 8 during
No.
our No Levels early tournament.
No.
Yeah, it was
Oh, God.
unfortunate. But
Yeah.
anyways,
This B locker can only be opened by Chunky, because reasons.
fun fact, if you don't have 100 golden bananas here, you can use the B Locker cheat code, which is up,
No.
down, left, right on
Do
the
not
D-pad,
endorse cheating.
and then do a primate punch at the B Locker if you have 80 golden bananas.
Yes. But yeah, it's a sort of a developer code banned for runs. It is considered a cheat code, but yeah, there's a couple of dev codes that have been found using the D-pad in various locations in the game that do weird things.
All right,
And
let's
I
see.
think Ballum has videos up on all of them explaining what they are and what they do. The only one that is actually would be useful for runs is the one where you can lower the banana requirements for entering a level, specifically for no levels early, and it's because you, instead of 100 golden bananas, you'd only need 80 total. No, okay, so in no levels early, you can see that there is, like, normally when you come into Hideout Helm, there's like a timer counting down at the bottom, from where, like, for when the Blastomatic goes off, and if the timer runs out, you game over. However, because we are in
There we go.
main menu mode, the timer just doesn't appear. So you can't time out here. And so that
So
allows us to just go grab the key, phase walk clip out, and just go into the final boss without having to worry about the timer. Normally, if you get the timer, even if you clip out of Helm, you will still have the timer running. So you could go into the final boss fight and then time out in the middle of the boss, and it will game over.
so we see Toyo tracing DK's room here to get right over to the
Yeah,
Terminal 2 room, the one
yeah.
right before the crown door.
So yeah, he will
If
come
you've never
back
seen,
inbound just to get some extra height.
if
Don't
you ever felt
note
like you wanted to
the out
skip
of bounds.
doing the Rareware coin and the Nintendo coin, this is the
Yeah,
way to do it.
this one is really easy. You just jump into that gap between the terminal and the floor. I'm not sure if we mentioned it, but the way out of bounds floor works is that the height of the floor out of bounds is determined by the height of the last floor you were inbounds, which is why he has to
Alright,
inbound there to gain extra height to be able to backflip into this room. And yeah, here you can see Toyo turning his camera towards the door and the window there, because there is a glitch that happens even in casual gameplay sometimes called fake key 8, where for some reason the key doesn't load properly if you face the camera wrong. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but sometimes you can just grab the key and it will play the banana dance and the key will disappear, but it will actually not count as you getting the key. Okay, he's not going for
he's
takeoff
not
skip.
doing takeoff skip.
But yeah,
Savage.
and so you would have to re-enter Helm and go get it again. And there's no way to know, especially when you can't pause and go look at your totals menu. The only way to know is going to Klumsy and realizing that it doesn't actually turn in key 8. But if you turn your camera to face the door and the window, you're guaranteed to not get it.
Alright, now it's time for the best cutscene in the game.
Yeah, so we can talk about takeoff skip in the
Yeah.
meantime. So this is the so-called takeoff cutscene, and this cutscene plays when the boss spawns and you've turned in all of the keys. You actually don't need to turn in more than key 3 and 8 to spawn the final boss. But if you only turn in keys 3 and 8, this cutscene will actually not play for some reason.
Up until fairly recently, it wasn't really RTA viable to do a skip of this takeoff cutscene,
Without
but
reason game.
it was
Um,
recently discovered. Well, not recently, maybe like a year or so ago, that Linky can clip through a particular torch near one of the areas that you can get a rainbow coin in the Kalumsey area.
yeah.
Since we don't get rainbow coins throughout the entire run, there is a first time text associated where Squawks is like, yo, this is what a rainbow coin is. Peace. And you can kind of overlap that cutscene with the final key turn in, and it gives you a little bit of leeway of time to get out of bounds and void out.
And if you void
And
out
that
before the
essentially
cutscene
skips the
starts playing,
cutscene.
this cutscene will never play. Fun fact about that: the torch clip is what made it viable, but on VC or technically, like at all, you don't actually need the torch clip to do it. Because you can use a rank stand sprint to just run out of the room during that little bit of leeway, just barely. But
Yep.
the reason you don't see Toyo going for it is because it's actually really, really difficult to do. You're gonna be using Enki, and you're gonna have to jump into the rainbow coin and do like buffer a crouch out of a jump, which you can't normally just crouch with a rank stand sprint. So you have to jump and buffer a crouch and then do a frame perfect long jump while grabbing the rainbow coin so that you reach the trigger where it turns in the key, and then you will get the overlap. On N64, it becomes a lot easier because you can utilize orange lag, where you'll see runners clipping out of bounds, pulling out the camera because that's the only way to go into C up during a rank stand, throw a bunch of oranges, and then just run and jump from the rainbow coin, and the added lag will make you move faster, and makes the normal jump reach the trigger instead. So it's a lot easier, or a lot more consistent, at least on Nintendo 64 compared to PC.
For sure.
Saves a lot of time too.
All right, first phase of K. Rool.
All right,
DK
so
phase.
this is the final boss fight, and you have to beat a phase using all of the different Kongs in order. So, and you're using some sort of Kong specific ability. So this is actually like a cool, a really interesting boss fight design where you're like, you have to beat all the phases consecutively to beat the boss. If you ever lose, if you were to die, which we can't really do because we can't take damage, then you have to redo the entire boss fight. And so every phase requires 4 hits. And so as DK, you're just gonna jump into every single corner of the ring and shoot yourself out of a barrel at K. Rool. And the punch pattern K. Rool does when you jump into a barrel is predetermined. So what you do in runs is you count the punches he does, and the first one I think is it's 4, 5, 3, 7, right? I think DK phase, where you count the punches before you shoot, because normally he does like a sort of feint where he pretends to stop punching, but he actually doesn't. But there is actually like a little bit of a window there where he isn't invincible during that feint, so you can actually hit him there.
All right.
You wouldn't
So
normally,
this
like,
is
if you're
Diddy
doing that
phase?
reactive, you wouldn't be able to hit him there. And this, okay, so Diddy Phase, arguably the hardest phase in K. Rool fight.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be flying in a rocket barrel, just hitting these switches on every lamp. So the way
basically
you do
shoot
this really
right through the
fast is
switches if you want.
shooting the targets through the lamp like that, because the lamps have really weird hitboxes, so you can actually just shoot peanuts straight through it and hit the target from behind and hit both at the same time.
Well, it looks like he's approaching the end of this phase, and then we get to see the best Kong.
No.
It's a most people don't like
Someone
Lanky
get this
in the
heretic out of
speedrunning
here.
community. I love Lanky. Lanky also has probably the funniest of the 5 phases, because he's just trying to get K. Rool to slip on giant banana peels by playing music and aggroing him over.
I mean,
So
Tiny tickles
basically,
his toes with feathers. So
we
there's
just
that.
wait here for a second for all of these pillars with switches to spawn, and use Lanky's even more elongated arms to hit the
Oh my
switch. Toyo
Oh,
having
no.
a rough time with it though.
Yeah, so in this phase, this is maybe the second hardest phase in terms of runs, at least. So here, this phase is all about cycles. So K. Rool moves in a predetermined pattern. So if you're fast enough and throw your barrels in a specific place and go through the platforms in a specific order, you can minimize the time you have to wait, because K. Rool will start running at you from the exact spot, like in a straight line from the spot where he's standing when you play the instrument. And so you want to be able to play your instrument immediately as you reach the pad, and have him run as short a distance as possible to the banana peel to save the most amount of time. If you have to wait around for him to reach like a place where he would hit the banana peel, you'll be losing time while waiting, obviously.
All right, this is looking pretty
Oh,
good.
a little bit with the first switch. He does a good job here. Gets the fast cycle. Actually, on really good pace as well. God damn.
This is like a 203 pace.
Like a low through 3, yeah. But yeah, so the reason people don't like Lanky, all the reasons people don't like Lanky. First of all, he has a terrible hitbox. He has the worst jump aerial distance out of any Kong. He has the worst bonus barrel minigame, minigames in general, I guess. In 101%, he has all the hardest tricks because of a rank stand TBS. And he's just generally dumb.
All right, so now all the reasons that we like Linky, he's really a silly personality. He has some of the most interesting tricks in all of 101%, allowing you to skip a rabbit race, as well as skip the piano game,
To be fair,
just by
but hey,
using a ring
he
stand.
has the rabbit race
Um,
in the first place.
he also has the second fastest movement, which is orang stand jumping. Um,
Yeah.
he also, what else? He can literally just go through certain walls by skid jump, long jumping, because he's great
I mean,
like that.
everyone can.
And he's the reason that takeoff skip is RTA viable.
I mean,
Boom.
on N64, you could do it with Chunky. With a
You
false
should
reverse
not do
wall.
it with Chunky. Don't
And
try.
you could do it with anyone using phase walks. It's just
You
harder.
could theoretically do it with anyone, but we're not all tool assisted speedrunners.
Yeah, which is why people don't do it on VC in the first place.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. He didn't make it a whole lot easier for VC.
All right. Just a quick word about Tiny Phase. All these toe movements are predetermined as well. Basically, some of them are homing, and some of them are already determined. I think the only homing toes are in the third and fourth phase of this fight. And K Rool's jumps are all predetermined, except for the last two jumps of phase 4.
The corner in which he shockwaves is not predetermined necessarily, but the amount of jumps he does.
Right.
But yeah, there's this whole like when beginners start running this game, and they have to remember there's this whole meme about a paste bin document called toes.txt where you just write up a bunch of numbers to explain how where you need to stand for these toes, because it wouldn't be the first time where someone actually dies during this phase when doing the old route where you could actually take damage here.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's, especially on VC when they really fast, it's actually kind of hard to dodge all of them if you have no clue where to stand.
This right here is RNG. He got the worst RNG.
Where K. Rool runs into the corner you're sitting in, and, you have to kind of go around him to get to the barrel. To be fair, like on VC, you don't have to worry about the shockwave lag, so you can actually start really early. On N64, you'll see people go up on that pole and look up into the black ceiling, so you don't look at the shockwaves to reduce lag. And you want to stay there as long as possible, obviously. So if the K. Rool runs into you like that, then you'll have a harder time getting around him.
All right, looks like he's just about there. Very nice.
And just on that note, in terms of VC time save, this phase alone, this is like a slightly over 4-minute phase. On this phase alone, even playing completely optimally, VC saves like 25 seconds just in terms of transition lag. It is.
I think that's completely correct. Like if you do perfect lag reduction on N64 and you do like a mediocre like half-ass like tiny phase on VC, you will save 25 seconds.
Yeah. Because like a good tiny phase on VC is like 410, and I think like a really, really good tiny phase on N64 is somewhere around 435.
So for
And
chunky phase here,
in general for K. Rool fight, like it's K. Rool fight as a whole is like 45 seconds faster on VC, which is like it's one of the it's like maybe the biggest time save for VC in the entire game, and like over half of it is in tiny phase. That is how laggy that phase is.
Mm-hmm. So for Chunky Phase here, basically Chunky hits this switch, which spawns the Gorilla Gon pads, which allows him to see the Primate Punch barrel, and allows him to see K-Rool running around. And then you just gotta make sure that you punch him at a particular point with your Primate Punch.
Yeah. Again, K-Rool's movement is predetermined, so you'll see Toyo doing like really tight dodges around him when going back and forth, just because you know how he's gonna move. Also,
the only time it's not predetermined is if you get hit during the fight, then you don't really know where he's gonna go.
Because he's gonna change up where he's in the pattern. And yeah, fun fact, this is one of the occasions in the game where the game just gives you moves if you don't have them. You don't actually need to have Gorilla Gon to
Yeah.
or I believe even
And GG's. That was a 203.45.
yes. Yeah, you actually don't need those moves to beat this phase. The game will just assume you have them at that point and give them to you for reasons. That was a really good run.
That was an excellent run. It was a pleasure to commentate with you, Zaffication. And I encourage all of you to give Toyomana a follow as well as Zaffication. Both are great runners. Both run on Wii U VC. I mean, you guys just watched Toyo's run. He's an absolute class act. Again, he currently has second place in No Levels Early, and he just has been grinding away to continue pushing the record down more and more.
Hopefully he'll keep going even after the marathon. Yeah. So thanks everyone for watching, and thanks Soru, and good luck to all the runners in the rest of the marathon.
平均タイムが3時間、じゃあ2時間3分7秒ですね。悪くないですね。だいぶ近いんで。よかったよかった。さて、そろそろ終わりに向かいますか。皆さん、ドンキーコング64の RTA どうでした？今まで RTA In Japan でも
Our pleasure, TJ. Take it easy.
30分で終わるカテゴリーと6時間、5時間半かな。5時間半ぐらいで終わるカテゴリーでした。でも今回は2時間とちょっとで終わるカテゴリーです。面白かったですか？まあで、ちょっとね、2% だと物足りないかなっていう人もいると思うし、5時間半はちょっと長いなって思う人もね、絶対いるんですよ。2時間なんでね、ぜひね、見てください。自分解説動画もね、実は作ってます。RTA In Japan 申請するにあたって解説動画を作りました。それも今ね、20万再生ぐらいされてて、めっちゃびっくりした。それと合わせて、今回の走りを見ていただければ、結構いろいろな部分がこう説明してない部分とかもあると思うんで、あるんで、まあ、そっちとね、合わせて見ていただければ、足りない分はきっと知れると思うんで、ぜひ、もしね、この RTA 面白かったな、もっと知りたいなと思った方は、解説動画見てみてください。では、最後そうですね、宣伝しますか。RTA In Japan のこの綺麗なレイアウトとかあるじゃないですか。これに近い、RTA In Japan に最も近いんじゃないかなっていうイベント団体が実はあるんですよ。それがオンラインマラソンイベンターズっていうイベント団体がありまして、もしね、よろしければそっちの方もぜひね、フォローお願いいたします。定期的にね、RTA のイベントやるんで、ぜひ見てください。私が主催ではないんですけど、ぜひね、よろしくお願いいたします。まあ、あとは RTA ラジオ略してあるラジとか、年始にね、レイド RTA マラソンとか 本当自分 RTA の企画めちゃくちゃ大好きでいっぱいやってるんですよ。今年開催した数はちょっと分かんないです。月に3回ぐらいはやってるし、合計のイベント主催は22種類。本当いろいろやってるんで、まあ、RTA In Japan 見て RTA のイベント面白いなと思った人は、とりあえず自分見とけば、リツイートとかしてね、自分以外の主催のイベントとかもね、リツイートするんでね、ぜひ合わせてよろしくお願いします。よし、じゃあ終わろう。いやー、楽しかった。楽しかった。いやー、ドンキー64みんなに見てもらえてよかった。それがね、本当今回幸せなことです。めちゃくちゃ幸せでした。幸せな時間を皆さん本当ありがとうございました。まあエンディングはね、ちょっと終わってないですけど、早めにね、切り上げたいと思います。では次は、皆さん、愛と平和のゲームです。塊魂です。私大好き。塊魂。ね、塊魂でございます。皆さん、この次もぜひ見てください。私はこのバナナというバトンを怪文書の人とアイザックの人に渡したいと思います。では、春友さんとシスカさん、このバトンよろしくお願いいたします。それでは皆さんありがとうございました。またどこかでお会いしましょう。バイバーイ。切り替えて大丈夫です。